So, students, today in our history class we are going to discuss another subunit from our history chapter number 10 from our new NCERT book, and those students have old NCERT book. It is also in chapter number 11 in old NCERT book, and it is in page number 116 in old NCERT book, and those have new NCERT book. It is in page number 106. Okay. And you can see that I have already mentioned our today's topic. It is how were these kingdoms administered and a new kind of army. So, in previous class, in my previous class, those have attended that class, I have discussed about Samudragupta's Prasasti and genealogy, Harshavardhana and Harshacharita. So, you have learned about the genealogy or family tree and about the Harshavardhana, who was Harshavardhana, the ruler of Pushravati dynasty, and about the book from which we can know the story of Harshavardhana, that is the Harshacharit, and also Siyuki written by Harshacharit, that is written by composed by Banabhatta, and Siyuki the travelogue written by the Chinese traveler Huanzhang. Okay, 108, fine, no problem. 106 or 108, some students they told me that it is in 106, so that is why I have mentioned that, because I have the old NCERT book. So, let us begin our today's class. So, today we are going to discuss about the how were these kingdoms administration. These kingdom means the kingdoms of Harshavardhana as well as the Guptas. At first we are going to discuss about the Guptas also. So, as in the case of earlier kings, land revenue remained important for these rulers. So, in chapter number 6 you have already read that at the time the rulers they collected revenue from or taxes, various type of taxes from their subjects or people of their kingdom, and some of them also they paid tributes to the kings. And from the Gupta period, land revenue was the most important source of income of the kings or emperors, and land revenue was collected from a portion of the total yield, means total crops that grown on the particular agricultural field from that portion. And the village remained the basic unit of the administration, and the village remained the basic unit or the smallest unit of their administration. Like today also the villages are the smallest unit of our administration. And I think you have read about the Gram Panchayat or village Panchayat in your civics book. So, in the similar way at the time also. So, there were some new developments as well, that kings adopted a number of steps to win the support of men who were powerful and either economically or socially or because of their political and military strength. So, kings need the help of some officials or administrators to administer such an huge empire, you know that. So, some of the posts mentioned here, that who were the people who administered such a huge kingdom. That some important administrative posts are hereditary, means the sons succeeded the fathers to this post after the death of their father. For example, the court poet of Samudragupta, Harishena, was a Mahadanda or chief judicial officer like his father. So, he was also a chief judicial officer. Sometimes one person held many offices. For instance, beside being a Mahadanda or a chief judicial officer or judge, Harishan was a Kumaramatta. Kumaramatta means an important minister, as well as he also acquired the post of Sandhi Vigrahika. Sandhi Vigrahika meaning a minister of war and peace. So, all the three different posts also acquired by Harisana at that time. Besides, some important men probably had a say in local administration. So, some important people they also appointed as local administrator. These included the Nagara Sreshti or chief banker or merchant of the city. The most rich, the richest merchant of the city they also appointed as the chief banker or Nagara Sreshti, and Nagara Sreshti is the post of the chief banker or merchant of the city, and he also followed all the activities, followed the rules and regulations, and also organized and controlled the activities related to the banking system. Like today also huge banks are there and people store their money in these banks, they also taken loan from that. So, except that Sarthavaho are some officials who were the leader of the merchant caravans. You know that people at that time they traveled through caravans, because the roads were not safe at that time. So, people used the bullock carts, using the chariots or on the horseback or by or on foot, they traveled a long distance, and this is called caravan. And the leader of the caravan, merchant caravan, known as Sarthavaha. Another post was there, that is the Prathama Kuliko or the chief craftsman. The head of the craftsman was called the Prathama Kulika. Like today also the chief engineer was there in every government organization. Okay. Like railway, like the PWD or public works department, their engineer also there. At that time also Prathama Kulika was the chief craftsman and the head of the kayasthas or scribes. He also was the head of the kayasthas and or the scribes. Like today also lot of people working in different offices with pen and paper and computer. So, at that time also lot of people also involved in the work of scribes. They copied those manuscripts and also keep the record of everything, every government expenditure. So, and Prathama Kulika was the chief of all these people, the chief craftsman, also the head of the kayasthas or scribes. So, these policies also reasonably effective, but sooner or later some of these powerful men grew strong enough to set up independent kingdoms. But when some of these people they earned more power, they separated their portion of state or separated their portion of land and make a new kingdom and declare themselves as new king. You have already read about this type of kings, and in future in class 7 you will read again about some of these kings who overthrown their rulers and established a new kingdom. Now, about a new kind of army. So, like earlier rulers, some of these kings maintained a well organized army with elephants, chariots, cavalry and foot soldier. Okay, I am writing here, it is the elephants, cavalry means the horsemen, the soldiers riding on the horseback, and next the chariots, and those soldiers are fighting on the top of the chariots, they are called charioteers. Such as in Mahabharata, this type of all forces also you have read this type of different forces was present in the battle of Mahabharata. And the last one, they are foot soldiers. So, beside there were military leaders who provided the king with troops whenever he needed them. The king needed military troops whenever any battle occurred. So, they were not paid regular salaries. Instead, some of the military leaders were received land grants, and they collected revenue or the share of the crop from the land and use this to maintain their soldiers, to feed their also used to feed their horses, and also provide equipment or weapons for warfare such as sword, javelin, and the armor, the bow and arrow, etc. So, these men were known as samantas, these military leaders known as samantas, and whenever the ruler was weak, these samantas tried to become independent and overthrow their rulers. I have already mentioned. So, students, this is the two subunit, how were these kingdoms administered and a new kind of army. If you have any question from these two subunit, you can ask me, or if you have any confusion about any portion, no problem. Okay. So, if you have any question regarding the previous subunits, such as from the Prasasti, the Samudragupta's Prasasti, or the genealogies, or the Harshavardhan, you can ask me also. Okay, no doubt. So, students, from this chapter only one subunit left, and I will give you I will also upload another video of this, the last subunit, ordinary people in the kingdom, next class. And the two boxes present, and the orange boxes and the information that will not come in examination. So, no need to read this portion, you can read it as a story, but it is out of syllabus. The fisherman finds a ring and the king's army. Okay, so, these are not included in your syllabus. And next day, tomorrow, I will give you the last subunit from this chapter, and I will finish that chapter. Okay. And from the Monday, we will again start from our last chapter of geography. So, I hope you have understood everything. Okay, I will repeat the Harshavardhan again. Sanchita, I will repeat again that Harshavardhan actually was the ruler of Pushyabhati dynasty in the northern plain. He ruled in the northern Gangetic plain, mainly today's the region known as Uttar Pradesh, Bihar. So, he was ruled nearly 1400 years ago. His father's name was Yashovarman and brother's name was Rajyavardhan. So, when after the death of his father Yashovarman, his elder brother Rajyavardhan sat on the throne. But at the time there are some conflict among the states, and his brother-in-law was the ruler of Kanauj, was killed by the ruler of Bengal, Shashank. So, what happened then, to take revenge also to recover the kingdom of his brother-in-law and to save his sister Rajyasri, the Rajyavardhan also attacked the ruler of Bengal and attacked Kanauj, but unfortunately he was also killed in the battle and lost the battle. So, Harsha finally took over the kingdom of Kanauj and with a huge army, and then led an army against the ruler of Bengal, but unfortunately till the Shashank alive, the Harshavardhan never conquered the Bengal. Although he was successful in the east, he conquered both Magadha and Bengal after the death of Shashank. He was not as successful elsewhere, such as he tried to cross the Narmada to march into the Deccan. Deccan means the today's Andhra Pradesh region, okay, but was stopped by the ruler belonging to the Chalukya dynasty, and at that region, in Deccan region at the time, the most powerful Chalukya dynasty ruled, and the most powerful ruler of Chalukya dynasty Pulakeshin II. Okay. So, that is all from the Harshavardhana and Harsha Charitra, and this portion Pallavas, Chalukyas and Pulakeshis are not part of his syllabus. So, I am not discussing that portion. So, I hope you have understood all the subunits. So, that is why I am finishing my today's class. So, see you in the next class with another subunit. Bye everyone.